schools. I lost faith in this school system here in DeKalb, and both of them are currently at state-approved charter schools for the third year. I'm grateful that amendment passed. We don't receive county property tax funds. So although we have achieved improvements, what I would like to know is what would you do to reward the schools that do achieve and give them equitable funding?
Karen, we'll let you start off.
You are not receiving local schools, but you are receiving state funds. And again, I think that goes back to what Mary Kay said, is, you know, we need to partner with these businesses who are going to support these schools in the avenue in which they are going. I applaud you for being able to make that choice. I applaud you for being able to put your students first and get them where you think they need to be. And as a parent, that's our job. I don't know that we can put, that's a legislative issue. So, you know, Matt pointed out that teachers have, you know, the state school superintendent has a specific job, and it is to implement the policy that the legislature puts into place. So although we can be advocates for funding charter schools and nonprofit or even for-profit charter schools, unfortunately we don't have the ability to fund that money in there.
So just real quick, I want to go back to that last question, and this one, and it goes to yours also. We have to make sure that we don't lose local autonomy. There's a lot of these rules right now that are being proposed by the legislature that will take away local autonomy. I think we need to make sure in local communities, if they want a college and career academy, they have the ability to do that. If they want to set up those technical programs, they have the ability to do that. And with your situation, what I would say is we need a fair system. You know, I'm glad that the charter amendment passed because it was better than the alternative. But it's still, you know, and I'm on a school board, but it gives school boards too much power to say no simply as a funding mechanism. And that's not fair. You know, if we're going to judge schools on their performance, it needs to be an equal playing field. And we've got to start having that difficult conversation about changing it to the money follows the child so that we can start to understand, you know, if we do education this way for this amount of money, this is the results. But until we have equal funding for all of these different pathways, we're never going to be able to have a real debate on what success looks like.
Fitz. I'm sorry, is your name Fitz too? No. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, he had raised his hand.
Yeah.
If you have a follow-up question.
Yeah, I mean, we're letting all the candidates answer each question. I know it's a little bit lengthy, but it's the most fair way. So we got 3 more answers.
I'll be brief. I follow Kira on that. You know, we can't change that, but we can be advocates for you as we go, you know, before the legislature and before the governor's office and those types of things. I think I do applaud you also for making that choice. I think one of your rewards, while not monetary, it is the ability for the charter school to be more flexible in what they're doing to educate your children. I hope that you can you can feel that reward at least while we work on trying to figure out how we can monetarily make sure that everybody's getting the same.
Nancy.
And well, thank you, by the way, for all the work you did to help pass the amendment. You're an amazing blogger and advocate for kids in your own right, and I appreciate that. Fix funding, fix funding, fix funding. I mean, if we had true per pupil funding, this would not even be an issue. I talk about this on my website, so everybody can go there and see, you know, and what Matt said, and I think others have touched upon it. We do have to sit around the table and talk with the legislators and get a simplified funding formula where we do have true per pupil funding that is assigned to the child, and not this 19 different categories of funding over a 6-period of day, this very Byzantine schedule of funding that we have. It has to be simplified. That solves that problem for you, and that also will drive results. But what we can't see the fact that, well, it's just on the legislature, though. I just want to make sure everybody knows that. You know me, you know my principles. I have stood for conservative principles. I'm on the record for doing that, even when it cost me personally. And that is important because the Department of Education has been absolutely, you know, just absent, I think, on conservative principles and real leadership and conservative leadership at the top. So that's what you know you'll get from me, and that's the advocacy I'll take to the legislature and the governor on your behalf.
Mary Kay?
I like to read the legislation, so in preparation for this upcoming session, I read the legislation. It's found on the Educational Freedom Coalition website under legislation, and it has changed. It used to be that they will get this extra money in bonuses, and that language was crossed out, and now you know what it says? May. So that's something that, you know, as a state school superintendent, we need to be able to know all the legislation, know what's going on with the race to the top and meeting federal requirements and having educational freedom and still being able to do that, and also staying on top of the legislation so that we know what we're required to do, what we can do, what we can't do, and try and influence the legislation.